co-host Andres. What's going on, Andres?
Sir, pretty good. It felt like last weekend was yesterday. I don't know why, but it was just so much joy that we needed, and I feel wonderful.
Nah, that's good. What's going on, Jared? Shout out to Jared Bayless in the chat. 812. I know we're running a little late, guys. That's on me, guys. Traffic has been a bitch and just a lot of crazy stuff. But with that
Sounds
being
like
said, we're
Houston.
here, guys. Yeah, we're here. But those 12 minutes I came in late, I'm always willing to give them back to you guys on the show. So it's all good, especially if you keep the chat going and it's live and it's all good and active. We keep it going as long as we possibly can. With that being said, Andres, before we get into all the good stuff with the Dynamo and all the stuff that's going on with them, Ponce is the GOAT. What's going on, Drago? Um, the Gold Cup final was held this past Sunday at NRG Stadium, a sold out NRG Stadium, 72,000 plus fans, jam packed NRG to watch Mexico once again lift up the Gold Cup from back on the back to back tournaments. A 2-1 victory over the USA men's national team, a young USA men's national team that garnered a lot of experience during this tournament. A lot of players who might have not had an opportunity to possibly make the World Cup roster have gotten good looks now and have quite possibly catapult themselves into World Cup team consideration for the next year's World Cup in America. Um, your thoughts on the game? 2-1. I know it's a little bit of a sucky feeling because we had so much hype for the USA men's national team, especially because of our own Jack McGlynn being a part of it and all that good stuff. Your thoughts on the game as far as everything goes? Corey, what's going on, buddy?
Honestly, the game itself, if you are accustomed to seeing USA versus Mexico, it's gonna be USA versus Mexico every single time, regardless if both teams are feeling their B teams, their C teams, their F teams. It's always just gonna be the rivalry that is gonna be box office every single time. This game in particular, obviously the US came into the expectation that even though they were feeling their C team, they were kind of supposed to win it, considering that Mexico is kind of going through a rebuild right now. But at the end of the day, Mexico was just on top of it, especially for this final, and just playing against the US. You could say the US's weaknesses altogether, and they have a lot of momentum going for this tournament. So it was gonna be. I always felt it was gonna be a tight game, all things considered, because they're fairly new teams. Both teams having like different coaches that you could say to an extent they were still trying to find out the identity of their own players and who to consider for next year, because next year is kind of important. But
Yes, it's gonna be
it was a good game altogether.
Yeah, I mean, both national teams came in the tournament with a lot of questions. And even though, obviously USA and Mexico still made the final, Mexico lifted up the Gold Cup, I still think there's a lot of questions for both national teams. As far as them being, obviously the big fish in this region and them being the representatives for us next year and the World Cup, not just being host, but being, the the more often team that's gonna hopefully maybe pave or showcase a good World Cup run, right? Obviously, the best World Cup run we saw was in 2014, with Costa Rica making it to the semifinals. That was an amazing run, and nothing came close to that aside from the 1930 team, which is how 1930s when the USA I think ended up fourth place in that World Cup. But with that being said, I mean a lot of questions. I still believe I think Mexico still has a lot of maturing to go, and I think the reemergence of Raúl Jimenez and just him becoming like I don't know. He's put on his cape. He's gotten away from the head injury. He's past that already. All that stuff with what was going on. After that serious injury he had when he was with Wolves. It's all in the past, and he's like I'm sure he knows this is probably his last run with the national team as far as being an important player, and obviously this World Cup coming up is probably going to be his last World Cup, and he wants to make sure that he leaves a nice little legacy behind as far as his Mexico career goes. And to be honest, I mean, from Mexico and Mexican fans all together, obviously a lot of them have been praying to whoever they can pray to that Santi Jimenez can bring his club form to the Mexico national team, but it has been nowhere to be found. I mean, he just can't score for Mexico for whatever reason, whether it's the formation, the tactics that Javier Aguirre is using is not really comfortable and is not really comfortable for him, or whatever the case may be. But I mean, you have obviously Raul Jimenez, who's a 32-year-old forward. I mean, obviously a lot of experience in Europe, a lot of important games in Europe, a lot of high risk games in Europe that he's obviously these games to him are not really that much of anything, right? He's been in bigger games in his career. Uh, Prior to him, Henry Martin, was a 33-year-old forward for Club America who these past 5 years has been one of the greatest runs for a historic club in Mexico, with Club America winning three of the last four league titles, winning the Campeón de Campeones, lifting up the Copa de Mexico, and things of that nature, just trophies upon trophies, scoring big goals for America and for Mexico. So I mean, I think a lot of things is riding on something Jimenez, but until we see it, I mean, you have to ride with the hot foot, and that's Raul Jimenez. You know, and Raul Jimenez showcased his skills and realistically was a driving force to the point of Mexico lifting up this Gold Cup. Now, the USA men's national team had a lot of questions coming in, right? Pochettino, was he the right coach? All the European players, none of them showed up really. A lot of domestic based players, a lot of players who are very fringe players who might be considered C team players coming in. Matt Freeze. As a goalkeeper, when you have Turner, when you have a Stefan, when you have I can't remember the kid's name,
Diego Luna.
Solonia, um, all these goalkeepers that are broad in Europe, and Matt Freeze is the one who gets called to be the primary
Yeah.
goalkeeper. It's a lot of questions, but they answered a lot of those questions. And you see the emergence of players like Diego Luna, obviously our own Jack McGlynn, Patrick. I gotta
Ajiman.
learn this guy's. I gotta learn his last name. I gotta learn that last name. But
Ajiman,
Patrick,
yeah, yeah.
obviously, getting the move over to England and with Derby County in the championship. Malik Tillman possibly getting a move. Like I mentioned prior, Diego Luna, who's getting um, rumors about him maybe possibly going to La Liga and things of that nature. So I mean, a lot of good has come out of this tournament so far for the young players, but I'm curious to see how these players are going to be integrated once the European players come in. I'll ask you this question, and we won't last too much longer on this topic. But if you were coach, if you were Pochettino, obviously Pulisic, McKinney, um, Turner, Weah, I mean Gio Reyna, like these are players that play on big clubs, you know, big time minutes, have played big games in their club career and on the international stage. Do you just allow those players to come in and just, hey, here's your starting job automatically, or are they in a prove it mode? And if they're on a prove it mode, when would they have the opportunity to prove it?
For the starters, you could definitely say that okay, if this guy's available, he's gonna start no matter what. It was kind of an expectation that a good chunk of the roster that saw the Gold Cup is not gonna be available for the World Cup, only because not just roster limitations, but also the fact that they had to field a team for this tournament, and a lot of
Mhm.
players who had to take time off. Either that, or there were injuries to consider, and they were just like unable to recover from those. And it's perfectly understandable. The U.S. at the end of the day, I feel like they did a pretty good job of what they had. Also considering with the form that the U.S. was entering the tournament, because I think I think before that, the U.S. like Pochettino didn't win a single game, like except for like the last friendly before the Gold Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
And even then, it was more so the fact that he was missing a lot of starters in camp for the Gold Cup, and he was trying to settle a few things here and there. And eventually, he did a pretty good job with the tournament, considering what the roster had. But there's gonna be definitely a ton of changes. I feel like one of the questions is gonna be like, is Arena coming back? There was like this issue with U.S. soccer over time, and it's really it's really a matter of like, should we bring him back or no? Is
Yeah.
he has to do good in Europe to kind of consider that, but the World Cup is next year. It's already less than a year from now, and Pochettino has a lot on his plate right now.
Yeah, and I have to agree with what Corey's saying in the chat about Gio Reyna specifically. You know, look, McKinney, Weah, they play for Juventus. Juventus in the Club World Cup. That's all things considered, that's a little bit more of a prestigious tournament than the Gold Cup. The Gold Cup. They've done that, been there, done that, right? Not too many times do you get to play a Club World Cup tournament, right? So, and plus Juventus is involved with it, and the club is always going to have first dibs on players on whether or not they're going to let them allow go to international matches if they have something going on with them themselves, right? So they might have not been able to. Who knows, right? Who knows how much they pressed it. The Pulisic issue, obviously, him being our biggest player, the face of the national team, and all that stuff. Um, all that stuff is it's one thing. Obviously, like I understand Pulisic's standpoint, right? But I also understand his teammate and a good buddy of his, Tyler Adams, in a recent interview saying, like, look, I play in the Premier League. He plays with Boardman. And for those who don't know, he plays in the Premier League. He plays in the FA Cup, and all that stuff. Different tournaments and stuff like that over there. We all know how rigorous the schedule is for the Premier League and for the English teams. But he had it in his mind like, yo, if I'm available, if I'm healthy, I'm playing this tournament because I need to get minutes underneath my boots with these guys. And even though I might be sacrificing a little bit of my vacation time, this is important to me. Like this is my national team. We're hosting the World Cup next year. This is important. This is coming out of his mouth. Like not verbatim, but I mean, but he understood the importance of being available for the national team during this Gold Cup tournament because it's realistically the last time that they're going to really be together for an extended period of time to train and to do things together and to understand each other and to get chemistry right. But obviously, the Pulisic issue is going to be one of those issues to see. Basically, it's manager versus star player, right? The Gio Reyna thing, like I said, from my standpoint, if I'm Pochettino, Gio Reyna, you're on a prove it, dude. Like whatever club you go to, whatever club you get transferred to or you go to, you better make sure you're a starter and you get some minutes underneath your belt and that you're dominating and showing out. Because right now, personally, he's not on my World Cup squad. He's not on my World Cup squad. You know, like I said, I can give the benefit of the doubt for McKinney and Well, Juventus Club World Cup. Cool. I can give the benefit of the doubt to Pulisic because obviously Pulisic is my star player, and even though I would love for my star player to be much more of a leader and show up for his other club for his other teammates, I get it, right? But I mean, he's shown out. He's playing at an elite level for Milan and the Serie A, and he's going to be a very important player, right? Now, how do I find a way to maybe punish him and let him know that, hey, I'm very disappointed in the decision that you made. That's going to be between Pochettino and him to figure that out, right? But it's just one of those things where things like that. Yeah, and Jeff makes a great point too. Host teams don't have to qualify, but and they don't have to worry about struggling this and that. But the thing about qualifying matches is that you get you get the atmosphere, you get the experience of those matches, right? You get the do or die, knowing that you have to collect these points. So they're missing out on that. Yeah, they're gonna get little friendlies here and there and all that good stuff, and they can hopefully maybe schedule up some games against some competitive team nations and stuff like that. But I think they're gonna miss out on the fact that they're gonna be that that they should be competing at a high level because they won't be competing at a high level because they're not technically playing games that really mean anything, right? But I guess we'll see what happens. And yeah, I mean, just shout out to Houston. Great show out on the Gold Cup final. Hopefully, it's a showcase game to where it's not just Los Angeles and New York always getting finals when these big stages, when these big tournaments come in. Obviously, I know Houston's has hosted semifinals for La Copa America for Gold Cup prior and all this stuff. But it would be nice to have Houston host more finals. Instead of it just making it on New York or Los Angeles and whatever all good stuff.
Yeah, we still got like
Um,
7 games if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, for sure,
that's gonna be a
for
lot of
sure.
games at Energy Stadium. It's gonna be a Gold Cup final every day, so it's gonna be wonderful.
Yeah, seven Super Bowls for the Americans that don't know soccer.
Yep.
But with that being said, guys, dude, this season is a roller coaster. It's up and down. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm high. I'm down. I'm happy. Down. I'm not happy again. Like it's just it's the Texas tornado for those who experience Astroworld in their youth or whatever. It's a crazy season, crazy season. But with that being said, look, back to back wins at home against St. Louis and on the road against Western Conference leaders and expansion team San Diego FC. A 4-3 thriller of a game. I mean, dude, like just just a awesome game from all around. I mean, obviously, as defensively, obviously you would not want to allow 3 goals, but as far as the excitement and the thrill of the game and the atmosphere, it was great. And obviously the people who scored, the people who participated, the people who were involved, the players who were involved. It's great to see. Obviously, we spoke a lot about Inali. Inali scores his first goal, just out hustling the defender to get that ball and to score that goal. It's just amazing to see. Our DP number 9, Ezekiel Ponce, with 2 goals, could have possibly had 3 or 4 in the game, but obviously a brace is a brace. Happy to see him on the scoreboard. And then obviously Bartlow, Ponce, and Olsen being named on the MLS Team of the Week. So I mean, it's a great feeling. Your thoughts? What do you think is going on with the team right now? And I mean, just how are you feeling?
Well, it could in terms of goals and really in terms of the meaning of this result, it could easily be the biggest win of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely so far. We still have plenty of season to go, and for me, it's so funny because we were coming into this game with the expectation that we were going to lose pretty badly, and
I
look,
think
like
once at
back
I
then,
think once at
like
4-0.
like like a week ago, if you asked us that question and we asked that question in
I
the last
asked the
episode, it
question.
was yeah, like it's everyone expected a loss. I said a draw, and I
I
was
said
like,
3-2. I said 3-2.
you
So
were pretty close, well, and the opposite, but
yeah.
like still, for me, just watching this game and just looking back at things I've said previously, one of the things that really stuck out to me, and I kept remembering, is that this team loves to quit whenever we started losing, like for the past month before this game. And the wonderful thing about this game is that they kind of just showed the opposite of everything that everyone said about the team not scoring enough goals, the team not being able to recover when it matters most, the team that just really quits because they're just unable to break through defenses like that. I guess San Diego, the best team in the Western Conference, it felt like we're gonna struggle for a draw here. At least that's what I felt like. But
Yeah.
I felt like on a good day, Houston could have gotten a result here, and we were blessed with the win in our first ever meeting against San Diego FC on the road this time, and it was fantastic. Honestly, like it's really everything, and it kind of started with the first goal being for San Diego, and I was like, oh boy, it could be one of those, and then I mean I don't know how to describe that first goal for Dynamo from Loris and Ali. Like it's just like something that us as Dynamo fans we struggle to even like consider a forward that's just like able to outpace a defender like that. It was incredible. Like just the the insane amount of effort that he put on him and Basi man, like he just like skies the ball and now he's just like sprinting towards goal.
Hmm.
Like he had his mindset to score that goal like way past the halfway line, but he just bolted,
You know,
bolted.
and yeah, and the crazy thing is like obviously there's always the what ifs, man. Like what if he didn't get injured last year? You know, because he was on the verge of starting. You know, he just scored his first goal against LAFC and all that good stuff. You know, obviously we had a stacked team last year with Hector and Coco and Mikael and you know we had that team. And then if we would have had somebody truly being able to cross the ball and give Ponce distribution and play play one on one with him and distribute the ball to him. I mean, you know, who knows what that team could have been last year, right? That's always going to be the big what if conundrum when you look back at that team. But obviously we have him now. We see the type of game changer that he is on the pitch. What kind of flair he brings. And like I said, like I've been saying this since he came back this season. When he's on that pitch, the game slows down for him. Like he's able to dribble, get through the defenders, whatever he wants to do, it's available to him. You know, this kid is super talented, and you know, and I hope that the injury bug comes no more, and he gets to fully showcase his skills and his flair and his personality on the field, and just be able to just go on and just be great. You know, because obviously it's gonna be a whole different dynamic for the Dynamo. Like, excuse me, Inali might be the reason Ben Olsen is our head coach next year.
Yeah,
Still, you know, the
I 100% agree. Yeah.
realistically speaking, like before the St. Louis game and everything, we were already talking Ben out or Ben in, right? Here comes little Inali, comes in, does his little thing, whatever, and all of a sudden, back of the mind. Oh, two wins in a row. We're not even talking about. We're in eighth place right now. We got RSL coming up here pretty soon, which we'll talk about here in a bit, and we're excited to see what happens with that. You know, we got numerous amount of games coming up pretty quickly because at the end of the month we got the League Cup coming up. You know, which Dynamo are going to participate in this year, and you know we'll see what happens with that. But I mean, but obviously it's great to see Inali out there. And then on top of that, man, you know, after you mentioned you mentioned San Diego's first goal, then Inali comes out and let's look, Franco Escobar, man. Like
Oh
I
my goodness.
let this be the last time I hear any kind of Franco Escobar hate. There's no Escobar hate allowed on this show. You know,
Never.
if you're gonna have to find me a ban button if I ever see this chat and there's some Escobar hate. You're gonna have to find me a ban button, Andres, because I don't want to hear any Escobar hate from here on out. You know, look, this is the thing about Escobar and why I ride for him so hard is because he comes in and he has that grit. He has that attitude. He's a prideful player. Don't mind you, this guy's a two-time MLS champion, right? He's won. Obviously, he won the Open Cup with us and stuff like that. he had the opportunity to go to Inter Miami or go somewhere. I'm pretty sure he's got opportunities to go somewhere else. But the front office value his leadership and his talent, and that's why they didn't let him go. Honestly, to be honest, I think it's a great choice by Pat. Obviously we know that the phenom Felipe Adelante came in and he started doing his thing, and stuff like that. And people get excited because of the goals, but people forget. I said that on this show. I said it on this show. I think Escobar is the second best left back in Dynamo history, only behind Wade Barrett. And I'll go toe to toe with it. I know some people are gonna be Beasley and blah 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 and this is and that. Beasley cool, USA men's national team player cool, whatever. But I mean, we didn't win much with Beasley on the pitch. Obviously, yeah, we won a U.S. Open Cup title with him, but there was a lot of losing seasons. Ever since Escobar's been on the team, we've been win win win. U.S. Open title, Western Conference, appearance. You know, uh, we do a lot of winning. And he scores a lot of phenomenal goals. You know, um, so I mean, like I said, I think Franco Escobar is the second best left back in Dynamo history, behind Wade Barrett, and I'll stand on that. I'll stand on that mountain, on
That's
that
a
hill,
big
whatever
take.
you want to call it. You know, but with that being said, I mean, it's great to see that. Uh, it's great to see the club just being kind of amped up about the whole situation. You can see the happiness after after the win on the pitch, because I feel that they know, and we've talked about this. I feel that they know that they have the talent to be in a better position that they are now, but they're just not clicking. And Nolly might be that glue who connects everything together and makes it work. Jeff says Wayne Barrett brings both a smart outside back and excellent field leadership. Barrett, of course, is Barrett to go. Yeah, like I said, aside from Wade Barrett, I think Franco Escobar is the second best left back in Dynamo history. Wade Barrett, obviously the GOAT, that guy, two MLS Cup champions, whatever, true captain, uh, leadership on the field, on and off the field, all that good stuff. But like I said, don't blah blah blah. Please, look, I got love for Beasley, but I mean, but I just think that Escobar has eclipsed them as far as left backs go. But with that being said, what about the second half? What about let's talk about the second half in Ponce. Finally scoring brace for him in the second half.
I mean, it's incredible. Everything went right for Dynamo except defensively. Like
Yeah,
it's the second half. The second half, I feel like it was just an entire different story, especially towards the end of the game, which we're gonna talk about. But that brace for Ponce, it was massive.
hmm
What an absolute insane time to come up, especially with the goal that he had set up, which was way off offsides initially. He comes over big with a penalty kick, which by the way, it was a penalty kick. It kind of sucked for the goalkeeper because he got his nose blasted. Like even though he felt Ponce inside the box, I think he was his arm that made contact with his nose, and he took the brunt of it on his face, which
yeah,
definitely sucked. He was bleeding a lot, and a lot of the stoppage time had to do with that injury because the game stopped for like 6 minutes or something like that. And it's good that he made a recovery. I thought they were gonna bring in a new keeper, but they stuck with him. They stuck out with him for the rest of the
yeah.
game, which I found interesting. But
Hey, look,
man,
being a keeper, we gotta be made off a different cloth, man. To be a keeper at any league, to be honest, I mean, it's toughness.
yeah, like it's toughness for sure. And keepers, yeah, they get a lot, a lot of hits. And man, this hit by Ponce, he he doesn't send it wide, but he aims it to the middle, and he literally puts so much power that
There's
obviously
nothing
the
you can
goalkeeper
do.
kind of goes to the side. But if the keeper was still standing still, he will have a hard time catching that ball because he went to the crossbar, extremely fast, and that was
Yeah.
an incredible goal.
Yeah, for sure. Look, the one thing about penalty kicking, I mean, it's an art, right? It's not like it used to be. It's not as automatic as it used to be because the athleticism of these goalkeepers now is out of this world, right? But one thing I know for sure is, look, if you aim it high and you have a lot of power through it, mm, more times than not, you're gonna score that penalty kick. But with that being said, yeah, look, man. Um, Obviously for me watching Ponce, like I said, there's another player that I ride for. Um, the first couple of minutes of the game, I was very disappointed because I felt that he should have scored in the first 3 minutes when Inali got him in that pass, and he was able to get past the goalkeeper and he just kind of botched the little tap in. And I was like, oh man, dude, like it's those type of plays sometimes where I'm like,
Yep.
you know, with Ponce, where I'm like, man, come on, Ponce. Like I feel that he's way better than what he's showing us, right? and and I think the fact that like how I was feeling after those first couple of minutes in the game, I was like, man, come on, dude, because how many times has he had a lot of headers blocked or whatever this and that should have gone in. He's won headers off the set pieces and off the crosses, and he just nicks them a little bit to the side, and it's just a little wide or whatever. And it's just like, man, dude, like I feel like he's even with the sad performance of distribution and crosses that he's had this season. I feel that he should already be in double digit goals, right? But unfortunately for us, he isn't. But with the second half of this game, with the PK and with the second goal, I mean, it's just, man, I'm so glad to see him get out there, and you can tell from his expression, like that he feels a weight off of his shoulder, man, because he knows what he means to us. Like we need, if we're gonna succeed in any kind of way this season, or if we're gonna make a legit run, like Ponce knows that we need him to score goals for us, and and I think this is gonna be the game that we remember where he catapults into another level. I hope. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. But any more thoughts on the San Diego game or Ponce or any player that you want to shout out individually? I saw Jeff. Yeah, for sure. The defense wasn't too good, but shout out to Barlow. Obviously, got a team of the week nomination and stuff like that as well. So shout out to Barlow. He did represent really well on the defensive side of the ball with what he does well, and especially because obviously he's being asked to play a lot more than what we expected with Shevchenko being out again. Unfortunately for Eric, man, he's just having this injury bug linger and linger and linger, man. It's an unfortunate thing, but we'll see. Hopefully he's available for when we really need him, but we'll see what happens. Anything else you want to add on to this before we move on?
Man, the stoppage time for the game that led to to Ponce's second goal. Man, 17 minutes. I don't think I've ever seen that before in an official soccer game, like in an official professional soccer game. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And I feel like because of the injury, I felt like it could have been like probably 8 to 10 minutes
Mhm.
tops. But then I saw 17 minutes and I was like, what? That's like that feels like a third half right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. 17 minutes is a bit excessive. I to be honest, when I was watching, I was like, man, they're gonna give him like 10 minutes extra time because obviously the injury, the substitutions, and then the hydration break. So I was like, okay, they're gonna get like 10 minutes extra time. When I saw 17, I was like, oh, what is going on here? So, but
And Jeff kind of asked if it was like a Dynamo record. I don't know officially, but I'm willing to bet $20 it is a record. So
yeah, I
like
mean, it has to be, shit. It
it
might, it
has to be
might,
a record.
it might be an MLS record. Who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah, man. But
yeah,
crazy game. But fortunately for us and the guys in orange, we come out of there with a win. And like I said, those roll points are golden points because unfortunately for us, home has not been that great. But I mean, we'll see what happens. Now, speaking of the road, we're going back on the road again. On the road again. To this week to RSL and Real Salt Lake, who unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I don't know how, depending on the way you see it, we get Jack McGlynn back, but those guys get Diego Luna back. You know, uh, obviously Diego Luna, we know what that kid is all about. Great player, has really risen his stock. Obviously, a lot of eyes on him, European eyes looking upon him. Whether or not he sticks around with RSL that much longer, it's to be determined. I guess the same thing can be said about Jack. We just heard the news about Jack getting an extension with the Dynamo last week, so that's good news for him. Get a little bit more money in his pockets, and still be a U22 player for us as well. But with that being said, RSO at the moment are outside looking in at 12th place in the Western Conference. While, like I mentioned prior, we're in 8th place. Not a couple points separating us from 5th. So I mean, a lot of good things that can happen. Your thoughts on the RSL, Diego Luna, and do you expect both of them to play big minutes or maybe come off the bench, or what do you think about for what do you think the the minutes are for McGlynn and for Luna?
Well, for us, we do get a pretty good deal with Jack McGlynn because he's been coming off the bench a lot for the
Yeah.
U.S. men's national team in the Gold Cup. So he's still going to be fairly rested, and I'm 100% sure he's going to start against RSL.
Mhm.
And I wonder what the difference is going to be because if you look back at the schedule, we haven't won a single game with Jack McLean gone except for the last one. Well, and the one before that. So
Yeah.
it's we were pretty inconsistent, and Jack McLean being back just being another way for us to get service. And you know what's better than that? Combining Jack McLean, his vision, and having Lawrence and Nally in front of him. That is going to be amazing. But still, I feel like Jack McGlynn just being back with the team is massive. It's just coming back into our current winning record of 2 games, and I was trying to prove a point because we're trying to pick up as many points as we can. Just trying to come back from a pretty bad slump to start the season, especially at home. So we gotta get those road points as many as we can before we hit the All Star game. Even though we were past the halfway point, but yeah, man, I do see Jack McLean starting. Luna, he's always gonna be a little more tired or slightly more tired because he kind of started almost every game, and even though it's already been a week, like after the Gold Cup final, I still feel like RSL's not gonna waste that opportunity to have it on the field because he's on form right now. I don't feel like they're gonna be wasting that opportunity, but he could be on bench. But I doubt, I highly doubt I could see that.
Yeah, I guess I gotta feel the same way. Obviously, I will be happy to see Jack McGlynn back, especially on that right side, opposite Inali with Ponce on the middle. And then obviously Diego Luna. I think Diego Luna's 22 years old, man. This guy loves to play soccer. I mean, look, let's be
Yep.
honest, man. This guy, he wants to be on the field, and if this is his last run or go around with RSL, he doesn't want to leave them on a bad note, fighting for outside of playoff contention. So this guy's gonna come in and try to do and be the menace that he is. Look, RSL has as a team has scored 22 goals this season, and 12 of those goals are contributions by Diego Luna. So he's a major factor for them as far as goal scoring goes, with his goals and assists. So I mean, it's a very important player that they're receiving back. The team will get a huge lift. The crowd, the fans are going to be happy to see him. So I'm sure there's going to be a bigger atmosphere just to help, just to give him back that welcome, and that just that round of applause for doing such an awesome job for the USA's men's national team and all that good stuff. So I expect RSL's atmosphere to be rowdy and going, and stuff like that because, you know, like I said, each club has a couple of games going up, maybe like 2 or 3 games going before League Cup starts and stuff like that. So teams want to make sure that before they get into that tournament, that they are, you know, going into that tournament on a high as far as the season goes. And making sure that before they play that tournament, that that they're in some kind of contention, or at least close by. And like I said, look, from 5 all the way to 12, I mean, the separation is really nothing. The only outlier here in the table is LAFC, because of their participation in the Club World Cup, where they have like 3 games in hand on everybody. But I mean, but outside of that, everybody right now is at 20, 21 games. So I mean, and everybody's points are fairly close together and tight knit. So, even though the Dynamo are on a 2 game winning streak here, you lose here, or the next game against Vancouver, and we're right back outside wondering if the Dynamo are going to have a legit run to the playoffs. But if the Dynamo can continue to collect points on the road, and then hopefully have a good showing against Vancouver at home, who knows? Maybe we go into Leagues Cup fighting for a top 5, top 4 spot in the Western Conference, which would be a long road ahead of where we thought we were going to be at the start of July, because of the shitty June that we had. So a lot of things can happen, man. So I'm excited for this game. I'm excited to see if Ponce can continue to score goals. And I think, like, look, obviously going on the road is a tough issue, but I think that this team has the talent and has the capabilities, and has the motivation right now to really go out there and showcase, and really beat up on an RSL team that's not really doing really well at this moment. And I mean, you know, obviously we're gonna give our projections here pretty soon, but I just think that this is one of those games where it's a put up or shut up game. Like, hey, Dynamo, are you for real, or are we for real, or are we pretenders? What is it?
They better be for real.
Man, dude. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm tired of coming in here being confident and then them letting me down. So,
Yeah.
so I'll ask you, man, your projection for RSL.
I feel like we're gonna we got a good chance of winning, and I see us winning 2-1 at RSL. I feel that's gonna be a pretty good game. I feel like RSL is gonna try and do what every team is doing. Press us as much as possible, set up the counter, look for Houston to make mistakes, and I feel like if we don't contain Diego Luna, it's not gonna, and a lot of their pacey attackers, I feel like it's gonna be a difference between actually us winning this game and not letting RSL run away with it. But I see us winning it either way.
Who scores the goals for you?
For me, I'd say I'm gonna say Jack McLean,
Both of
and
them? Oh,
no, I'm gonna say Jack McLean, and I'm gonna say Lawrence Anelli.
nice. Uh, Drago on the chat says Inali plus McGlynn plus Linger plus Ponce equals Cook. And a crazy thing about here is the forgotten man is Linger. He's the forgotten one right now.
Yeah,
And
it hasn't been producing as much as we hoped for. Obviously, he was starting as a DP, but we kind of it's kind of an open secret that Houston
yeah,
have
I
the
mean,
ability to buy him down
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to be a
He
TAM
he's
player.
he's DP
But
by title only, to be honest. But
yeah,
look,
yeah,
but the thing about Linger, I'll give him credit. He does show up to play. Obviously, does he? I mean, obviously, if it was him, he would want to be contributing a lot more than what he is now. But I mean, but he does show up to play, and I think that, look, obviously those 4 guys are going to be real key to us making a legit run to the playoffs, and maybe being a dark horse for MLS Cup or whatever, and maybe, who knows, maybe having a successful run at the Leagues Cup as well, right? And if 3 of those 4 guys can be on fire, I think we're unbeatable. You know. Now, if all 4 of them can get hot, I think, look, man, sky's the limit. But I
yeah.
mean, but obviously, if we can get 3 of those 4 guys to really to really go out there and showcase their skills and be the talented players that I think they could be. I think we can do a lot of good. Jeff says Linger works hard. He just needs to work smarter for sure. And look, he's only played what 7, 8 games with us. So I mean, he's still fairly new as a player in acquisition. Like we have to understand that he just he hasn't had a lot of time yet. And obviously the start that he had, 2 games, 2 goals, a game tying goal that was very dramatic. We expected a lot right off the bat because of how he came in. But I mean, but obviously he's kind of dropped back to the norm and kind of gone back down to normal. But like I said, he just needs to get better acclimated. Hopefully Ben gets him more involved, and maybe now that the fact that you have Inali and McGlynn back, it kind of frees up Linger to be that free roaming player that he kind of wants to be. A la maybe our quote unquote Messi or whatever. Obviously nobody's Messi, but that free ranging player who's out there freely being able to distribute, pass, or score however he wants. But we'll see. My projection on the game. Jojo says 3-1 Dynamo. Jojo, let me know who you think scores the goals. My projection, I'm gonna go 4-2 Dynamo. I think that the goal scoring prowess still keeps going. When you go up in those high mountains, you want to score as much as you can. As quickly as possible because you're going to be gasping for oxygen later on. So you want to make sure that you do it as quickly as possible. 4-2. Who scores my goals? I'm gonna say Ponce gets another one. I'm gonna say Linger gets one, and I'm gonna go with an Inali brace.
I like it.
So Inali brace, and obviously McGlynn will have an assist there or two, depending on what he does, whether it be from a free kick, corner kick, or just an open play. But I think 42 Dynamo. I think Diego Luna is going to be a menace, and I think he probably ends up scoring the 2 goals for RSL. To be honest, if we're not joking around here, but 42 Dynamo, and like I said, look, normally I would say this a lot louder, say it with my chest, but the last couple of times I said it with my chest, I ended up getting a foot in my chest. So I'm gonna be a little calm about this time, and hopefully the Dynamo can show me that hey, we're for real this time. We got the player that we think could like that spark under our asses and carry us and then Ali. So hopefully we'll see what happens. But with that being said, guys, we have 2 Dynamo games actually before the next Noodle time. So obviously we have to talk about the game that comes out after RSL, and that will be against another tough foe, uh, CONCACAF Champion Cup runner-ups, Vancouver Whitecaps. They oddly enough lost their last game against none other than the LA Galaxy.
Yes.
So it's a crazy, crazy, crazy time right now. But with that being said, with that being the outlier, Vancouver has been an amazing club this season. Has been a crazy, crazy, crazy story for not only the city of Vancouver, but for Canada overall, because obviously we know the history that Toronto FC has had. We know the history that Montreal has had as well, with certain type of players that ran through there, like Drogba and Henri as a coach, and things of that nature, and the titles that they've won as far as Canadian championships or whatever and stuff like that. But Vancouver out of nowhere, with Brian White, Bert Halter, Pedro Viti, just players that, to be honest, I mean, like I know who they are, but did I really know who they were? No, not really. So I mean, it's gonna be a crazy game. Jeff says the good news is Vancouver is coming to us towards the hottest time of the season. They must be dreading this game. Yeah, but I mean, they played down in Mexico and the hardest, toughest atmospheres, and they came out with wins. So I mean, as much as we like to think that our humidity and 100-degree weather is a big advantage for us as a team, this season at home has not been very friendly for us. So um, I'm gonna ask you. Obviously, Vancouver will be having a lot of their players back in their system with Brian White and Ball Berhalter coming back from US camp and stuff like that. Your thoughts on the Vancouver game and just Vancouver overall, man, as far as a story going.
Vancouver is just a brand new team compared to last year, and last year they were pretty good as well. But this year, their new head coach, I think his name is like Jesper Sorensen. It is Jesper Sorensen. Like he was able to not just keep the momentum that they had last year, but improve up like over it. And he's shown that in MLS. He's shown that in Conca Champions. He reached the final, which, by the way, apparently a good chunk of the team was ill because of like some food poisoning going on apparently, and
Eso
that's
makes
probably why
sense to me.
they got shellackled against Cruz Azul. But look, they reached the final and they're still able to keep enough momentum to stick to second place in the Western Conference. And they're very tough to beat, even though they lost against LA Galaxy just now. Obviously, coming back from that final and all that, but they're still a pretty good team. They're very well structured, and like you just said, they're getting players back from the Houston's national team camp that are going to be absolutely critical to what Houston can do defensively. One of those being Brian White. He's
Mm.
not like he's scoring goals almost every day, and I'm
That's a confidence
very
factor,
scared.
though. That's a
I'm
confidence
very
factor.
yeah, I'm very scared of him. And Houston can like if they're not like as attentive as they are inside the box, like during set pieces or just like blocking all kinds of opportunities, like coming into the box by themselves, it's gonna be a mess. So that's one of the players they have to watch.
Yeah.
And like don't look. I want to say to look at the LA Galaxy result because of that and other
Yeah.
reasons, but yeah, it's gonna be a pretty difficult game, and there's gonna be one of those games that Houston have to show out, put 100% in because we cannot lose at home
I
or
mean,
draw.
just let me recap everybody of their CONCACAF Champions run. First and foremost, they play against Saprissa, who's the best Costa Rican team in the league, and they beat them. Then after that, they go against Monterrey and Sergio Ramos, and talk about a player who's like uplifted a
Yeah,
franchise like
who's
Sergio
that
Ramos
guy?
Sergio Ramos in Monterrey at the Club World Cup. Man, they looked like they were gonna make some. I mean, they made some noise, but they looked like they were kind of probably make even bigger noise in that tournament. And then after they get past Sergio Ramos in Monterrey, they go and play against our old buddy, Miami and Messi. They basically knock out like one of the favorites. Like Miami and Messi was like it was inevitable that Messi Miami were gonna make the CONCACAF Champions League final, and here comes little old Vancouver and says no, you're not. you know. And then after that, they meet up with our old friend Coco and Pumas and knock them out. You know. And then like you mentioned prior, if it hadn't been for some quote unquote food poisoning or whatever, they made it to the final, and unfortunately, they got shellacked the way they did against Cruz Azul. But I mean, dude, I mean the run they had on Concacaf Champions Cup is it's something admirable, and like it just
Commendable, yeah.
yeah, and it just showcases the type of skill and type of grit and type of passion and pride that team has, you know, and the fact that they made that type of run, dude. Why can't they make that type of run and for MLS Cup? Why can't they make that type of run for a Leagues Cup? Uh, I'm sure that I don't follow the Canadian Open Cup, whatever they call it, but I'm sure that they're heavily involved in that. If not, already on the verge of probably going back to a final in that one. But like I said, it's just they're a team on the rise, and and they're sneaky, not well. I don't want to say sneaky good anymore because we kind of know already. But they're a team that you have to be on your A game. Otherwise, they're don't be surprised if they put five on you. I'm a little bit more hesitant on this game. Obviously, it's at home and midweek. Obviously, I would love to be able to say here confidently that we would get another win. Would it be great to have 6 points in hand next time we get on here next week? Yeah, but I mean, I don't know how strongly confident I can be in that. Um, I guess at this point, I'm hoping for 4 points. To get the tie at home, which is kind of ridiculous to hear when you're like, "Hey, let me get the win on the road and let me get the tie at home," when it should be really reversed the other way, right? But obviously, showcasing the opponents that we're going up against, that's kind of where I'm heading. I'm gonna go for my projection for the Vancouver game. I am going to go a 2-2 tie on a Wednesday night in Houston. Very humid night in Houston. We'll see. Or maybe a very rainy night, man. This Houston weather's been kind of funny, where it's
Yeah,
been
for sure.
raining, sunny, raining, sunny, raining, sunny, and all that stuff. But with that being said, I think I'm going to go for a 2-2 tie. Who scores in that game? Man, shoot. It's the crazy thing about having these midweek games, because sometimes you need a little bit of rotation in the squad coming off of games being so close together. But hey, you know what? I'm gonna stick with the fact that I think Ponce is gonna go on a hot streak of scoring. So I'm gonna go Ponce brace. So
I'll take it.
what? Yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, like I hope that Ponce goes on a massive goal scoring streak, man. Just I think he needs it. I think he has the talent for it, and I think with Anali there now, I think it just takes a lot of pressure off of him, and he's able to do things and distribute the ball to him a lot easier than the other guys have been able to. And hopefully he's able to create alongside him. Your thoughts and your projections.
Hey man, I can also see a high scoring game. I do see us trying to do something similar to what we did against San Diego, and it's just gonna be a matter of just staying on our toes, like every single opponent, like we have been facing, especially this tough opponent against Vancouver. I do see us winning 3-2. I feel like it's gonna be another chaotic game,
Nice. Let
and
me let
yeah,
before you tell me who scores your goals and stuff like that, and you said 3-2 Dynamo.
yeah,
Let me tell you some of the score lines of the last Vancouver games that we've had. Look, this Vancouver Houston matchup has been pretty crazy the last couple of years. I'll tell you the last five. We had a 1-1 draw, which is not nothing too crazy. We had a 3-4 win for us with the Dynamo. We had a 4-1 victory against them. Then Vancouver had a 6-2 win over us, and then prior to that, they had a 2-1 win over us. So some pretty high scoring games against the Vancouver Whitecaps over the last couple of years. So so if history tends to repeat itself, hopefully we have a entertaining, high scoring game on a Wednesday night at the Shell. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm hopeful for the win. I think we're gonna probably more likely get a tie, but 3-2, that sounds great. Who scores your goals?
I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna say Bartlow first,
Barlow.
and
Ooh.
yeah, yeah, I feel like it could just be like a corner or a set piece from Jack McGlynn. I got Bartlow second goal. I got Linger. I'm gonna say Linger, and the
That's good to
third
hear.
goal.
That's
The
good to
third
hear.
goal, yeah, third goal's gotta be Ponce.
There we go. Good old Ponce. Linger, like I think, yeah, Linger. I think he needs another goal or at least some involvement with maybe a couple of assists here. Hopefully these next two games for him, he gets involved in the scoring somehow, whether it be assisting or scoring himself. So I mean, obviously, I don't think I chose him to score in any of the games that I picked as far as my projections, but I hope I'm wrong, and then I hope that he gets on the score sheet. Um, so with that being said, look, guys, obviously every week on the show, I have a question about the Dynamo that I always want to ask. These guys, whether it be Andres, OSG, Juan, or whoever comes in and co-host with me. And the question for sometimes on the week it's a question that's being asked on repeat, right? Last week I asked, can the Dynamo actually make a legit run into the playoffs? Before knowing the result that we had against San Diego FC, right? Now with everything that's happened with the road win, us currently being in eighth place. Andres, I'm going to ask you this, a little bit of a different version of the question, but Drago says Ponce hat trick. I hope so. Um, do you feel that the Dynamo can be a legit contender for to MLS Cup?
If they want to be, yes. And we like I've had so much high hopes for this team before the season started, and
Hmm.
even after Mikael was gone, I was very trusting into this front office and management and all that. And we've been burned out so many times, but I'm
Yeah,
only saying if
trust
they
me.
want to be because like we see this result against San Diego and other results that the team's just like able to overcome. It's something that we still have to see consistently, and just coming out of a pretty like overall bad month after losing winnable games and winning games that it was hard for us to see winning. You get fans going like me. You get fans like more engaged with the team and just bringing back that optimism like we saw the past couple of years. So it's they can definitely do that. It's also a matter of mentality and not quitting no matter what because we
Mm.
are to an extent we are at the point of the season where more if you keep losing points at home, it's going to be hard for you to make the playoffs. Play in definitely, but you don't want to have another extra game because of that. So
Yeah.
you have to stop wasting those type of opportunities like we've seen this year already.
Yeah, I can't really say that if they're a playing team, I can't really call them legit contenders, right? Obviously, I know anything can happen in the playoffs, but I think a legit contender is a top four finish. Um, Obviously, like I said, like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, we have a lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. I mean, look, this season has brought us a win in Frisco that we haven't had in over a decade. A 3-1 pouncing of NYCFC at their home. Obviously, the thriller at San Jose, which ended up being a 3-3 tie. Obviously, the San Diego game that we just had, but then we have games like against Sporting Kansas City, against Montreal. You know, games that just there we had no reason to lose. Or if we we just weren't up for it, games that we should have at least gotten a point out of. But unfortunately, that's soccer for you. Even though you might have the better team on paper, it doesn't matter what's on paper. It matters what happens on the pitch, and more times than none, the Dynamo have shown that they're willing to play down to their level of their opponent, and that's an unfortunate thing. And that's not the mentality of a championship winning team. So, whether do I think they're a legit contender? I'm not gonna let this recency uh, happiness get me too carried away. I don't think they're a legit MLS Cup contender. Do I think they're gonna be in the playoffs? Yeah, at this point, I think they're gonna make the playoffs, but can they make a run? Now that's a different question. And at this moment, I don't think so. I think obviously, Vancouver, San Diego, LAFC, those clubs are obviously clubs that have a lot of investment in their team, who are probably going to get better when this transfer window opens up because they see the light at the end of the tunnel. They see an opportunity to lift trophies, multiple or singular, depending on the what tournaments they're involved in, and you want to do everything possible, especially when you see that light at the end of the tunnel, to be able to lift a trophy at the end of the season if you're a club, because those trophies mean a lot to the fan base and to the supporters. So um, I think that those clubs are going to get better, with the transactions that they do in the summer transfer window. But obviously, it also depends on what Pat and the front office do on the summer transfer window as well, and how and what kind of ambition they got going on, and what type of player they're hoping to bring. I mean, look, you're hearing the rumors that Miami might end up paying a $15 million fee for a defensive midfielder. You know, even though Rodrigo De Pau is a great player. I'm a big fan of his, but you see Miami's ambition. You know, there's
Yeah,
there's no question. For as much as people want to hate the fact that that they're spending all this money, blah blah blah, but shit, if that was the Dynamo, I would be riding the gravy train, throwing the finger at all the haters. Tossing the finger at all the haters. But since I'm not part of the Miami fan base and I'm not supporting Miami, I gotta be outside looking in and be just like, damn, like can my club get half of that ambition? You know, can we get half of that ambition and and
yeah.
and, and do,
Half of that ambition comes in with the fact that you can play with Messi, so I feel like that's
yeah.
gonna sell a lot of
Well,
deals.
yeah, for sure, for sure,
But
for
still,
sure,
Miami has a lot of connections, Messi or
for
not,
sure.
so it's something to consider.
But for sure, but I mean, but Messi was available to everybody. You know, uh, you know, hey, just who was really trying to go out there and persuade. Just like I said, I mean, it's just one of those things where, I think sometimes we're too quick to count ourselves out. I mean, look, to be honest, and this might be just a bias because I'm from Houston, but Houston's a great city. It's a global city, dude. Whatever you can find in Miami, you can find in Houston, except for the great
The
beaches.
beach.
Yeah, but I mean, but to be honest, you're messy. How many times you're going to be at the beach? It's not like you just walk out there and go to the beach and hang out, you know. But like I said, it's just whatever New York has, or whatever Los Angeles has, or whatever Miami has, or whatever Chicago has, you can find it in Houston too. Realistically speaking, I mean, aside from a couple of said things, but I mean, but for the most part, you know, Miami gets protection from Don Garber for sure. I mean, look, they got to protect the face of the league. Look, hey, Messi is bringing in the dollars. Look, Messi's bringing in the dollars. Miami made well over 12 million in the Club World Cup. Seattle made 9. LAFC made 10. I mean, these guys, look, they invested. Seattle, we know them have invested in their club. LAFC, we know they've invested in their club. Inter Miami obviously has. They're clubs with ambition, and they've been rewarded for it. For it. Can we can when can a Dynamo show me some ambition? You know, the we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Andres, is there anything else that you want to add before we make our closing statements and head on out?
Man, go Dynamo. I'm hyped
oh,
already. Like
oh,
after
oh,
that way against San Diego, man, I'm hyped up. Like I'm always am with Dynamo. But man, it's we got a big week coming up.
for sure, for sure. With that being said, guys, like I said, always thank you for the support. Thank you for the activeness on the chat. Shout out to Doggle. Shout out to Jeff. Shout out to Corey. Shout out to
Corey,
Bayless.
Jojo,
Uh, yeah, if I miss one of you guys, my bad. But shout out to you as well. Like I said, thank you for being active on the chat and for always being a part of the
Bayless.
show.
Let's go.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to OSG, Juan, all those guys. Andres, let the people know where they can find us.
All right. So us on Twitter and X. We do have two handles in that platform at Dynamic Foxtrot, at Noodle Tiempo, which are to keep you guys updated as much as possible with everything that comes down with Dynamo, Dash, those. We also have the Dynamic Foxtrot handle on Instagram and Blue Sky. So make sure you're following us to stay updated no matter what. Whatever you are listening, whatever you are watching this podcast, whatever you listen to your own podcast, like on a daily basis. If you search No Tiempo, we're gonna be there. If we're not on favorite platform, let me know. in the comments or on Twitter. I'm gonna add that podcast there as soon as possible. And the best way to watch us is gonna be YouTube, Foxtrot TV, especially this live stream that you're watching right now. Uh, we engage with all the fans. We try to keep you guys uh, to be part of the episodes, just to keep the conversation going. And as always, we do appreciate it. So make sure that if you're on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed, liking our videos, liking our live streams, and commenting. It helps a lot with the algorithm. And a lot of people can find us that way. Also, another good platform to check us out is Goals TV. It's a good platform that gathers all-star content creators like we are, independent, loving our teams, covering them as much as possible. We do have our profile there. It's called Foxtrot TV as well. And it's going to be goals.tv/ dynamic Foxtrot. And that is spelled with a Z. So check it out if you haven't already. And as always, we are posting our Substack newsletter, Fox in the Box. Now we also are posting the written version of Dash Dispatch from OSG. So make sure you are subscribed to our Substack. I do have all the links provided in the profile for Twitter and YouTube. So check out those links for us, and we do appreciate the support as always.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Before we go, guys, obviously, I would be remiss to not mention the fact that of all the horrible things that have happened with the flooding in Central Texas and all that good stuff. I mean, and all that stuff. I'm sorry. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers and condolences go out to those families affected over there. And it's a
Yep.
tragic event that's happened. I mean, I think last I've heard it's the counts getting up to like 200 announced dead, and it's an unfortunate thing, and it's a crazy time as far as this weather goes, and it's just something that just happened kind of out of nowhere, man, and then just kind of sometimes you just gotta be remiss and remember that life sometimes can be short, and you know learn to love each other, man, and hug those that you care about, and do something kind for a stranger from time to time. You never know how things can go. um but yeah, man, with that being said, guys, obviously, we're gonna hold it down for H-Town all the time, and go Dynamo, and hopefully next week we come back with 6 points, man. So thank you, guys.
Thank you guys. Stay noodle.